Red Sea, November 19, 2023, 11:47 local time. 3 commercial cargo ships, 27 crew members. A Houthi drone flying 200 feet above the water, 90 seconds to impact. When the drone appeared on radar, nobody on those ships knew they were about to become the catalyst for the largest naval deployment to the Red Sea in 40 years. Nobody knew that in 90 seconds, the entire global shipping industry would change forever. This is exactly what happened when a $2,000 Iranian drone challenged a $4 billion destroyer. The USS Carney, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, was on routine patrol 60 nautical miles off the coast of Yemen. Displacement, 9,200 tons. Crew, 323. Armament, 96 vertical launch cells loaded with SM-2 and Tomahawk missiles. Captain Robert Manning had been monitoring Houthi activity for 3 weeks. Standard operations. Low threat assessment. Yemen-based militants were launching occasional attacks on Saudi positions. Nothing that threatened international shipping, until it did. At 11:45, the Carney's AN-Spy-1D radar had detected an aerial contact departing Yemen. Altitude, 200 feet, speed 180 knots, heading southwest toward shipping lanes. The radar operator reported to the Combat Information Center, unidentified aerial contact, bearing 045, range 25 nautical miles, speed 180 knots. Captain Manning looked at the screen. Classification: probable UAV. Radar cross-section consistent with Iranian Shahed 136. Manning knew the Shahed 136. Iranian kamikaze drone. Wingspan, 2.5 meters. Payload, 40 kilograms high explosive. Range, 2,000 kilometers. Cheap, mass-produced, expendable. Iran had supplied hundreds to the Houthis. Intelligence reports had confirmed it. But the Houthis had never used them against commercial shipping before. Track it. Alert if it deviates toward commercial vessels. 3 cargo ships were transiting the southern Red Sea. MV Galaxy Leader, Bahamas flagged vehicle carrier. CMA CGM Simi, French container ship. MV Unity Explorer, British-owned bulk carrier. Combined cargo value $400 million. Combined crew, 47 people from 12 nations. All were following the standard shipping lane. The maritime highway connecting Asia to Europe, the area where 12% of global trade passes daily. At 11:46, the drone turned southwest, directly toward the MV Galaxy Leader. The radar operator's voice changed. Contact has altered course, now heading 21. Intercept course with commercial vessel. Manning made the decision in 3 seconds. Sound general quarters, weapons free. Destroy the drone. The alarm sounded throughout the Carney. Sailors sprinted to battle stations. The ship transformed from routine patrol to combat operations in under 60 seconds. The AN-Spy-1D radar locked onto the drone. Fire control solution calculated. The Carney had multiple engagement options. SM-2 surface-to-air missile, range 167 kilometers. Cost $2.4 million. Too much firepower for a drone. Rime 162, Evolved Sea Sparrow, range 50 kilometers. Cost $1.8 million. Still expensive. Phalanx CIWS, range 3.5 kilometers. Cost $30 per round. Close range last resort. Manning chose the SM-2, not because of effectiveness, because of message. Engage with SM-2. I want that drone down before it gets anywhere near that ship. At 11:47:15, the vertical launch cell opened. The SM-2 missile ignited, accelerated to Mach 3.5 within seconds. The Shahed 136 drone continued toward the Galaxy Leader. Its operator, sitting in a building 200 kilometers away in Yemen, watched through the drone's camera. He could see the cargo ship, getting larger, getting closer. Then his screen went white. The SM-2 intercepted the drone 18 nautical miles from the Galaxy Leader. The explosion was small. The drone disintegrated. Debris fell into the Red Sea. Total engagement time, 47 seconds. The MV Galaxy Leader continued its voyage. The crew never knew they'd been targeted, never knew a $2.4 million missile had saved their lives. Captain Manning logged the incident, transmitted the report to U.S. 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. Houthi UAV engaged and destroyed. No damage to commercial shipping. Carney resuming patrol. What Manning didn't know was that this wasn't an isolated incident. This was the opening move in a campaign that would shut down the Red Sea. In Sana'a, Yemen, Houthi military leadership received the report. The drones had been destroyed, but they'd learned something valuable. American destroyers would defend commercial shipping. This meant commercial shipping was a viable target. The strategic calculation was simple. Attack enough ships, and shipping companies would avoid the Red Sea entirely. Reroute around Africa, add 10 days to every voyage. Cost billions in delays. and put economic pressure on Israel, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia, all countries dependent on Red Sea shipping. For Iran, backing the Houthis, this was asymmetric warfare at its finest. Use cheap drones to force expensive responses, disrupt global trade, demonstrate reach. The Houthi leadership understood the economics perfectly. Each Shahed 136 drone cost approximately $2,000 to build. Iranian supplies were unlimited. They could launch dozens, hundreds if necessary. The Americans would have to shoot down each one, with missiles costing millions of dollars. The mathematics overwhelmingly favored the Houthis, and there was another advantage: political impact. Every time a U.S. warship fired $1 million missile at a cheap drone, it made headlines. U.S. Navy spending millions to defend against low-cost threats. The optics were terrible, made America look wasteful, desperate, unable to find cost-effective solutions. The Houthis were winning the information war even before the physical campaign accelerated. Within 24 hours, the Houthis launched 3 more drones. All were intercepted by U.S. Navy destroyers, all destroyed before reaching their targets. But the pattern had formed, and costs were mounting. The USS Carney fired 2 more SM-2 missiles that day. $4.8 million spent, destroying drones worth a combined $6,000. The USS Laboon, another destroyer on patrol, fired 3 SM-2s the following morning. $2 million, destroying drones worth $9,000. Within 3 days, the U.S. Navy had spent over $30 million defending Red Sea shipping. The Houthis had spent less than $50,000 on drones. On November 20, 4 drones, all destroyed. On November 21, 6 drones, 5 destroyed. 1 got through. It struck the MV Unity Explorer, British-owned bulk carrier. The 40-kilogram warhead detonated amidships, caused moderate damage, no casualties. The ship limped to port in Djibouti. But the impact went far beyond one damaged ship. The shipping industry reacted immediately. Maersk, the world's largest container shipping company, announced suspension of Red Sea transits until security situation improves. The announcement came at 14 GMT. By 18 ZEPSC had followed, then Hapag-Lloyd, then CMA-CGM, then COSCO. Within 6 hours, every major container shipping line had suspended Red Sea operations. The economic impact was instant and severe. Ships that would normally transit through Suez began rerouting around the Cape of Good Hope, the southern tip of Africa, adding 3,500 nautical miles, adding 10 to 14 days to voyage time, adding $1 million in fuel costs per voyage. Global shipping rates spiked. Container costs from Asia to Europe doubled within 48 hours. Oil tanker rates tripled by the end of the week. The Suez Canal, which generates $9 billion annually in revenue for Egypt, saw traffic drop 40% within 1 week. By the second week, traffic was down 60%. Egypt's economy, already struggling with inflation and currency devaluation, faced catastrophic revenue loss. Insurance companies declared the Red Sea a high-risk zone. War risk premiums increased 300%. Some insurers refused coverage entirely. Shipping companies faced impossible choices: pay the insurance premiums and risk attacks, or reroute around Africa and absorb massive cost increases. Most chose to reroute, the safer option, the more expensive option. By November 25, the Red Sea was effectively closed to commercial shipping. The Yemeni militant group, using Iranian-supplied drones that cost $2,000 each, had shut down one of the world's most critical shipping lanes. The broader economic consequences rippled globally. Retailers in Europe experienced inventory shortages. Christmas shopping season was approaching. Container ships carrying toys, electronics, clothing were stuck rerouting around Africa, arriving 10-14 days late. Auto manufacturers in Germany reported parts shortages. Just-in-time supply chains disrupted. Production lines slowed or stopped. Oil prices spiked as tankers avoided the Red Sea. Brent crude jumped from $80 to $91 per barrel in 5 days. Inflation, which central banks had been fighting to control, received new upward pressure. The International Monetary Fund estimated the global economic impact at $200 million per day in delayed shipments, higher fuel costs, and supply chain disruptions. Over a month, that's $6 billion. Over a year, $73 billion. All because of cheap drones launched by a militant group most people had never heard of. The U.S. response was comprehensive. Operation Prosperity Guardian launched on December 18, a multinational naval coalition. 20 countries participating. Most provided only token forces or diplomatic support. The real work fell to the U.S. Navy and a few close allies. 30 warships deployed, including the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group. 3 Arleigh Burke destroyers, 2 Ticonderoga cruisers, multiple support vessels. The objective: create a protected corridor through the Red Sea, escort merchant vessels, intercept any drones or missiles targeting shipping. The rules of engagement were clear. Any drone or missile heading toward commercial shipping would be engaged and destroyed. No warnings, no hesitation, immediate engagement. What followed was unprecedented in modern naval warfare, a sustained air defense campaign against cheap, mass-produced threats. From December 2023 to February 2024, U.S. Navy ships fired over 100 SM-2 missiles, each costing $2.4 million, destroying drones that cost $2,000. The total cost exceeded $240 million in interceptor missiles alone, not counting fuel, maintenance, personnel, or operational expenses. The Houthis had spent less than $500,000 on the drones they'd launched. The return on investment was staggering. For every dollar the Houthis spent, the US spent roughly $500 in response, and the Houthis could sustain this indefinitely. Iran's drone production facilities could manufacture hundreds of Shahed 13-6s monthly, at minimal cost. US missile stockpiles, while large, were finite, and replenishment was slow. SM-2 missiles took months to manufacture, required specialized facilities, each cost millions. By January 2024, Pentagon analysts were running concerning calculations. If Houthi attacks continued at current rates, the Navy would deplete its regional SM-2 stockpiles within 6 months. Resupply would require diverting missiles from other theaters, from the Pacific where they might be needed against China, from Europe where they backstopped NATO defenses. The strategic dilemma was difficult: defend Red Sea shipping and weaken defenses elsewhere, or accept Red Sea disruption and face economic consequences. There was no good option. The Navy explored alternatives. Phalanx CIWS could engage drones at close range, but only at close range, 3.5 kilometers maximum. By the time a drone entered Phalanx range, it might already be over a merchant ship. Electronic warfare systems could potentially jam drone communications, but the Shahed 106 had autonomous guidance, could complete its mission even if communications were severed. The most promising option was directed energy weapons, high-power lasers that could destroy drones for dollars per shot instead of millions. But these systems were still in development. Only a few prototypes existed. None were operationally deployed in the Red Sea. The Navy had requested accelerated deployment, but laser systems required extensive testing, power generation upgrades on ships, training for crews. The timeline was months, maybe a year. The threat was here now, so the Navy kept firing SM-2s, kept burning through million-dollar interceptors, because the alternative was allowing global trade to collapse. By February 2024, the US had spent an estimated $250 million defending Red Sea shipping, just in missiles. Operational costs pushed the total past $500 million. The Houthis had spent less than $1 million on drones. The mathematics were absurd, unsustainable, strategically problematic. But there was no alternative. Every drone that got through could potentially kill sailors, potentially sink a ship, potentially force more shipping companies to avoid the Red Sea. The cost of defense was high. The cost of not defending was higher. What the world witnessed was a fundamental shift in naval warfare, where cheap, mass-produced threats could force expensive responses, where a militant group with no navy could shut down international waters. The strategic implications extended far beyond the Red Sea. Iran watched closely, learned lessons, refined tactics. If the Houthis could disrupt Red Sea shipping with cheap drones, what could Iran do in the Strait of Hormuz, where 21% of global oil flows daily, where shipping lanes are even narrower? China observed that a regional militant group had successfully challenged U.S. naval power, noted the cost ratios, the sustainability questions, began accelerating its own drone swarm programs. Russia provided intelligence to the Houthis, satellite imagery of ship positions, timing of U.S. naval patrols, making drone attacks more effective, testing American responses. The Red Sea became a proving ground for asymmetric naval warfare, a laboratory where cheap threats tested expensive defenses, and the defenses were struggling. The USS Carney remained on station. Captain Manning continued his patrol, continued engaging drones, continued burning through million-dollar missiles. In one 3-week period, the Carney fired 12 SM-2 missiles, destroyed 12 Houthi drones, cost $28 million. The drones cost approximately $24,000 combined. Manning knew the mathematics, knew they were unsustainable, but he also knew the alternatives. Every drone we miss potentially kills sailors, potentially sinks a ship, potentially closes this waterway. We don't have the luxury of cost considerations when lives are at stake. The crew understood. They'd signed up to defend. this was defense, even if the economics made no sense. By April 2024, the Red Sea situation had stabilized into a new normal. Shipping continued under naval escort. Attacks continued at reduced frequency. Defenses continued at unsustainable cost. The strategic lesson was clear. Asymmetric threats could achieve strategic effects. Cheap systems could challenge expensive systems. Technology alone wasn't enough. The question every naval strategist was asking: what happens when adversaries scale this up? When instead of dozens of drones, they launch hundreds, thousands? The answer was uncomfortable. Current defenses couldn't handle it. The magazines would run dry. The interceptors would be exhausted. The ships would be overwhelmed. The Red Sea had exposed the vulnerability, and the world was watching. The question the US Navy asks itself: how do you defend against threats that cost less than the ammunition you use to stop them? The question Iran asks: if the Houthis can do this with drones, what can we do with everything we have?